Well, that was hilarious. I forgot to mute
Yeah,
it.
I was like, wait, the music, what happened?
Oh yeah. Disregard that, guys. But yeah, welcome back to another week of weekly crypto market recap. It's number 19, and things are getting spicy this week, as you can see already by this first post right here. I mean, we might as well just get right into it, right?
Yeah,
I mean, like Binance launching, their native Oracle service. I mean, they're trying to compete with Chainlink. It's pretty interesting. I mean, I don't know how this would go, but like it's very interesting. I mean, at the end of the day, it makes people realize a lot more like the value of Chainlink, the value of oracles in general. It's like
yeah,
people don't understand it, so they don't know how to value it. But like something like this, a big name like Binance, having to launch their own, it shows that like there is some value in an oracle to begin with. So like when people start looking deeper, they're gonna realize, oh wow, Chainlink is the standard regardless, and like it should be a lot more than 3 billion, market cap, and that's
yeah,
not even, that's just the price. Price is nothing at the end of the day. The what's more important is the fundamentals and the utility, and like it's unmatched. Like it's really really unmatched.
yeah. I mean, yeah, I kind of wonder how this will go for them because it is
Is it
sort
with
of hard to
premiums?
bootstrap an Oracle network, and I mean, Binance does obviously have the cloud, but I don't know. It will be interesting to see how this goes for them because it is kind of risky. If your shit is not working properly from the get go, then especially because their ecosystem is already super big, obviously with Binance Smart Chain. Like if there's anything that goes wrong, I think it would open them up to so many Oracle attacks. But on the other hand, as we've seen recently, they can just roll back the chain or halt the chain. So it's not really that big of a concern to them, I guess, because it's super centralized, of course. Um, but I'm not so sure, like anyone outside of the Binance Smart Chain ecosystem would use their Oracle.
Okay. Oh my goodness, guys.
Back.
Yeah.
Uh, I was
Uh,
thinking, wait, what happened?
yeah. No, I was about to refresh it too. Good thing I did not. Oh my goodness. But yeah. But what was he saying?
No,
I'm
I
sorry.
was saying I'm not so sure anyone outside of the Binance Smart Chain ecosystem will use their Oracle
Yeah.
because like
Agreed.
it seems kind of obvious that all the Binance projects, like at least things that are sponsored by Binance in some way or funded by Binance in some way, will use their
Mm,
Binance Oracle.
yeah.
Um, but I don't really see that happening for projects outside of the Binance Smart Chain ecosystem, unless they're somehow really a lot better than Chainlink. Which, I mean, it could be the case, but I feel like if it were so easy, then why hasn't there really been any sort of serious competition up until this point? You know?
Yeah. No, agreed. And the thing is, like, it's bullish because at the end of the day, like, it's like, why is Binance trying to, like trying to compete? Why are they trying to release their own Oracle to begin with? Yeah, they're gonna immediately trying to service their 1,400 applications on Binance Smart Chain, but like the reason that they are doing it is because they see how much value can be accrued like almost immediately.
Yeah.
Like and like it's not like they're gonna just release like another token. Like it would just be the same, the same token. So like I can understand why they're gonna try to compete because they're just gonna bring more value back to their token, and then like increases valuation. But at the end of the day, like you're right, not many is gonna really use this to begin with.
I mean, yeah,
Can you hear me?
Oracles, yeah, yeah, I can hear you. Yeah, I think oracles are all about trust, and it's sort of hard to build up trust. Um, like it, the amount that Chainlink already has, and also Binance as a company, right? Because I feel like just as a KYC service, like as a centralized exchange, I think a lot of retail people trust Binance enough to do business there, which is fair. Definitely has, it definitely has its benefits, but I'm not so sure a lot of developers would trust like a Binance Oracle because I mean, if they can just roll back the chain, like we've seen recently, then I'm not so sure. But it seems you're gone again. So let's see.
My
You're wait.
my goodness.
You're
Yeah,
back.
yeah. It's ah.
Yeah.
Gonna have to restart that shit. Jeez. Let me see. That's so annoying. See, this is why I did it, cause like earlier, it did this exact same shit. Like it just randomly disconnected, and I was like, "What the fuck?" So like I just paid it, so I don't have to deal with it. And look,
Yeah. I mean, wait. Is it your internet connection or what's the problem?
no, I think it's good now. I think it's
Okay.
fine. I guess it was just bugging out. But
All
yeah,
right.
sorry, some technical issues. I know we have one viewer looking right now. Don't worry, we're gonna get back into it. But yeah, what was you saying?
That yeah, just that I'm not so sure if developers would really trust like a Binance Oracle since I
No,
mean
seriously.
of all the qualities that you can assign to Binance, I'm not so sure trust is their biggest selling point, you know?
No, agreed. Like, I mean, just how they run their blockchain to begin with. Like, they already have too much centralization with their validators
Yeah,
and everything. So, like, what's stopping them from having the same centralization with their Oracle network, right?
yeah,
And yeah, you're right. Like, I mean, we've seen the likes of Pith with, on Solana, causing so many issues, and then like losing a ton of money because of like their price feeds like going down or having issues, and like people really don't account for that when trying to think about, oh, okay, you know which like coin you should which token you should invest into. Like people look at band, they look at chainlink, they look at all these different ones, and they think like, oh yeah, they're all the same, but it's not like that. The reasons that like chainlink is what chainlink is because of the fact that they've pretty much ensured the security for so long and made sure that there was no problems for so long, that like they've become the standard legitimately because of how trustworthy they are. And like, yeah, people are just gonna realize that more with this coming out, because like, let's just say there's a exploit that happens, like there's a problem, right?
yeah,
The first thing that they're gonna try to figure out is whether or not it has something to do with Binance's Oracle network. And if it does, then people are gonna realize even further. It's like, oh yeah, we we can't build any applications using this, even on Binance Smart Chain.
yeah.
And it's like
Yeah,
it's
so
crazy, to be honest.
that's kind of what I'm thinking as well. Like right now, Binance is just basically a casino, right? Like the Binance Smart Chain, as you said,
Yeah, yeah,
and it's mostly retail users there. Um, and I'm not so sure really that they're moving towards a more a broader chain that would also accommodate like other use cases than basically gambling. Um, but I mean, I could definitely be wrong there. But I think if you're looking at what's been happening lately, then I would say like Polygon seems to have really good business development. They've been doing deals with all kinds of like bigger brands and companies. So
Right.
yeah, I mean, I also have some doubts about Polygon from time to time. Like whenever I transacted on Polygon, or not always to be fair, but like a lot of times when I've transacted on Polygon, there were some issues. Um, but yeah, it's still it's not the same at least as Binance Smart Chain. That's super centralized, and there's
Yeah. No. Agreed.
yeah, it's basically CZ's team that's completely in control. You know?
No. 100%. And like the fact that they mentioned that like they would source their price data from centralized crypto exchanges and all that to ensure quote unquote data reliability, and then in the literal next sentence they talk about, oh look, a lack of reliable oracle data is what contributed to $100 million exploit that happened on Solana, specifically on
Yeah,
Mango markets. And it's like, I mean, yeah, then you should know immediately that like trying to like you know create trying to launch your own like oracle network is easier said than done.
yeah,
Like, yeah,
yeah,
you could say like, yeah, in the future, like it's already going to service quote unquote 1400 applications, and in the future, like it's already chain agnostic, so in the future they're going to support more blockchains. But like you can't you can't predict whether or not it would, like you're gonna be able to like service the applications on other blockchains when the applications become increasingly more complicated, and that's
yeah,
why Chainlink has such a not even a head start, but has such a large market share, is because they're not just like servicing like what price fees. It's not just that. It's way more things now, especially like with like so much going into like
yeah. I mean, fair
keepers and
sequencing, yeah,
yeah, all
keepers,
those things, everything in it.
Deco. I
Yeah,
mean, CCIP will come out.
exactly. So like it shows like immediately like, yeah, people are not going to compare like, oh, Chainlink versus Band anymore. It's going to be Chainlink versus this essentially, and then
Yeah,
you're going to be able to see clearly, if you look deeper or deep enough, you're going to see clearly, oh wow, like there's no competing with Chainlink. Yeah, so then you might as well invest into Chainlink, especially like investing into BNB now is like, what do you really expect from it? Like return on investment wise, yeah, you can see like
mhm.
you know, you could see it reach like ETH's market cap, right? That you can kind of say that's possible, but like that could be possible because of this implementation, not because of like the chain being very useful and like a lot of people building on it and all that. It's only because of like how much value is going to be like captured because of them releasing this oracle.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't know. I think I was thinking lately about what would now be sort of a good investment, taking everything we've learned from the last cycle into account. And I think
Yeah,
honestly, like we've talked already about many times, like I think last time we talked a bit about Bitcoin versus Ethereum, right? So I
yeah,
think at this point with how the tokenomics for Ethereum are now as opposed to proof of
right.
work, I think there's a lot of arguments for Ethereum over Bitcoin right now. And
Agreed.
as far if you have to make the case for BNB, then I just basically think like BNB is sort of the token for the biggest casino in crypto. So if you want, basically, if you can think, all right, when are gamblers coming back to BNB or to like Binance Smart Chain?
Hmm.
Like right at the start of that is probably a good time to buy BNB and um, profit basically of people gambling.
Yeah,
Sort of
agreed.
sort of the same thesis, I guess. Um, for GMX, although it's a little bit more indirect than with GMX.
Yeah.
You could say for Polygon, I guess the case more and more looks uh, like businesses, right? Like institutional adoption of blockchain, which, to be fair, is very interesting, and I should look more into Polygon.
No, same.
So yeah, that's I do think there's a case for BNB. It's basically gamblers will be gamblers.
Right, right.
Um, yeah, but I don't know. It's I'm not so sure if I'm too optimistic about their oracles, but yeah,
You know
we'll
what?
see.
You know what would be funny to see if they replicate like Chainlink's build model.
Yeah,
Like
yeah, it could be.
that would make sense because like they're already a blockchain, so it's like look, yeah, you could go through our build program and then like you just give us a portion of the supply of your tokens, and then like you build on our blockchain, and then you receive Oracle services from our Oracle network. So like
Yeah,
it kind of does make sense, but like people are gonna quickly realize that like it's yeah, Binance is just not reliable.
yeah. I mean, I'm not super quick to say like it'll completely be unreliable or anything. It's just that I'm not so sure people will trust it enough, or like not people in general, but developers specifically will trust it enough to use it in their own applications, because that's at the end of the day what matters, right? Since oracles are not really a user facing application, like we don't decide as users to use Chainlink, right? That's just more on the protocol
Exactly.
level of whatever DeFi app you're using, or it doesn't even have to be DeFi. But so yeah, if the developers are comfortable enough with the Binance Oracle, yeah, maybe, but I'm not so sure I see that happening immediately.
No, yeah, like that's what I mean by like reliable. Like once they realize like it's like this like it's not as good as Chainlink in the terms of like the services they're receiving and all the options they will have, and maybe even the cost. Like who knows? Like maybe Binance will charge more
Yeah,
than
so that's
Chainlink.
basically the only point that I could think of that they probably are going to compete on, right? Because I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
Binance could just kind of sponsor their oracles,
Hmm.
but it would seem pretty unlikely that it's super decentralized, because that's already not what they're doing with like the Binance Smart Chain node. So why would they all of a
Yeah,
sudden go heavy on the decentralization for their oracles? That doesn't seem very likely.
yeah. Agreed, agreed. But yeah, let's go into some news about specifically
Yeah,
Chainlink now.
yeah, yeah. So I think this one is pretty interesting, because, as I was saying to you earlier, I think for a lot of people, the sort of thesis was um, that like you have basically have a Chainlink node reputation, and very simply put, they can nodes can compete on two aspects, which is basically the time they've been running correctly. So sort of historical track record, to put it better, and
Yeah,
the amount at stake. So a higher amount at stake would equal or sort of imply a better reputation, because
right,
obviously someone might not be very worried about, let's say, losing one link at stake, but someone who has I don't know, like 1,000 link at stake obviously has more to lose, so more incentive to act
right,
honestly. Um, so sort of the thesis, I guess, for a lot of people was that bigger companies um, will have to compete with the likes of, let's say, Linkpool, and because they cannot, like, you cannot retroactively sort of get a historical track record, because you cannot say, all right, 2 years in the last 2 years I've been running this Chainlink node. if you haven't, right? So then
Right.
only other vertical for you to compete on is the amount at stake. So the theory was basically that, all right, these bigger companies will have to buy more Link to be able to compete with nodes who've already been staking for longer.
Mhm.
Um, but then if there's a cap on how much they can stake, then it's just, all right, 50K is the max, then that's it. So it is it is understandable why they implemented this, like from a decentralization perspective, because then what you've been seeing with some networks, like proof of stake networks, is that there were just a few large validators um, who ended up with like the majority stake, or not even a majority, but like a very significant portion
Right.
of the token, which is not good for decentralization, obviously.
Right.
But I
Agreed.
mean, I guess for for sort of price appreciation, it might not be as great because the thesis would dictate that. I mean, if you as a big company have to all of a sudden buy, let's say, more and more and more and more Link just to be able to compete with these older entities, that obviously drives up the price, right?
Yeah.
But if there's a cap of 50K anyways, it doesn't really make sense for you to buy more than 50K. And
Yeah.
50K right now, I mean, it's not even a million, so that's not that much. It's not even close to a million actually. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, it's good for decentralization, but I think yeah, it's not it's not maybe so good for price appreciation. But um, yeah, let's see. I mean, if there's enough big entities, then I guess basically the sort of next step then becomes like, all right, how do we get as many of these validators as possible, and
Yeah.
till what point does it really make sense? Because like that's also where the super linear staking stuff comes into play, where um, with normal staking there's a sort of maximum till where it makes sense to get extra decentralization in the network, because at some point there is a sort of plateau, right, where it doesn't really make sense to get any more nodes in a network for added security, because
Yeah.
whether you have, let's say, 3,000 nodes in a network or 3,001 nodes, that one extra node will not really um, it will not really provide much more security. Basically, the law of diminishing returns.
Right.
But I guess they're trying to combat that with super linear staking. So
Mm.
let's see.
No, agreed. Like it's like if these big companies want to compete, then they might as well just buy the 50 right off the bat, and then just
Yeah,
like how you said, scale from there and get more and more nodes running. And then like if they do increase the amount you can have staked on one, then you just reposition everything into one. And like it's gonna get crazy though. I mean, none of like regardless, like even if like they do have a cap, like not many can buy 50,000, and like the companies that are already aware of Chainlink, they're gonna buy this and they're gonna buy it in masses, and they're gonna
yeah,
prepare. So like yeah, like how you said, like they they're solving a lot of these issues like with the cap, like trying to avoid like centralization, all these different things. But like as soon as like it looks good, everything like functions as it should, then they will like remove the cap, and then like that's when things can start getting crazy. But at the end of the day, like I feel like even just this as is, it can you could start seeing things get crazy because then people are gonna they're gonna try to at least run as many nodes as they can.
yeah, yeah. I mean, Yeah, it's very interesting to see where this will go. I mean, this already says it's also more talking about staking version 0.1, right? So
Exactly.
it makes sense in this earliest version. Um, yeah, let's see where where it goes after that.
Yeah, agreed. But yeah, like going into
Yeah,
into this research paper, pretty much talking about 97.7 of the tokens launched on Uniswap were rugs. I mean,
yeah,
says a lot about this. Anybody that's a degen trying to like ape into every single coin that comes out.
yeah. I mean, I've never really been big on the meme coin stuff, but this kind of, I mean, yeah, I'm almost tempted to say like, yeah, I'm never betting on meme coins again because I mean, 97.7% is just insane. The 97.7% are rugs.
Yeah.
That basically means that's almost like one the one that is not a rug has to do 100x to even break even, you know.
Hmm.
um, yeah, so that is your odds are not too good, I would say. I would argue.
Not a,
Um,
you would need to hit
yeah,
like the jackpot like almost immediately.
yeah, exactly. So
So
I don't know. Yeah, there have been many people who got pretty good odds, or not odds, but they got pretty lucky, I guess.
mhm.
In the last bull run. It would also be interesting to see though how this is. I've not read the full paper, by the way, but it would be interesting to see how this is over like a longer time span. And seeing as this paper came out in January 20 of this year,
Mhm.
I would guess that now the number is even worse for the rock pool because we're now obviously we've been in the bear market for about a year.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I think there's more rock pools as people kind of try to get the last squeeze out of out of participants that are still left.
Right.
Um, but yeah, it's if you see this data, it's almost like why would you ever bet on meme coins, right? And especially this one.
Yeah.
Um, so there's Unicrypt, which they explain is a protocol where you can lock your liquidity. So if you lock the liquidity, then you cannot immediately pull it, which is what a rock pull is, right? Like pulling the
Right.
liquidity once people have bought in more and more. Um, and that's sometimes done by project owners, the project devs, as a sort of way to to imply like, yeah, this is not a rug pull because um, we've locked the liquidity for X amount of time, right? But then they go on to say, like, out of the 745 um, coins or tokens, whatever, that have used Unicrypt, they found 725 to still be rug pulls. And that means that only 20 are not, which
Yeah.
is like that's just insane, you know. Like then you can also not really trust that anymore.
No,
Um,
seriously.
so yeah, I mean, I would be very hesitant um, to sort of buy into meme coins. I guess like most things, obviously, are sort of musical chairs game, but then with money in this space. But I mean, meme coins are just like the absolute top of that. You know, like
Yep.
there's not really any sort of use case behind meme coins, and at
Yep.
least for something like Ethereum, you could say, yeah, people will always need Ethereum if they want to do transactions on the Ethereum blockchain or any rollup
Yep.
on top of Ethereum. So there's at least a use case there, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't know. It's I'm probably not, not buying any sort of meme coins again. Like
No,
the,
seriously.
I think maybe once for me that has worked, maybe once or twice, but yeah,
It's very, very rare, especially now. It's
very
like
yeah,
people are very like people are just not motivated to be
yeah,
building something of you, something real. So they're just gonna, like you said, they're gonna milk as much as they can out of the remaining participants. But the
yeah,
fact that there's 20 that's labeled non-malicious, I mean, who knows if those 20 even are still pushing along? Like, yeah, they didn't rug pull, but like, they could still be having other problems, or they still, are stagnant in whichever way. So it's like overall, it's a huge risk trying to jump into these random tokens popping up unless like you did a lot of due diligence on like the
yeah.
team and the project, all these different things. But like I completely agree with you. It really is the wild west right now.
Yeah.
Like people need to be careful.
I mean, if you want to hear one funny thing that's sort of semi-related with losing money, I guess maybe not in rock pools, but in crypto in general. Yesterday, I was firing up an old old MacBook that sort of went to shit at the end of last year, and I
Yeah,
found some screenshots um, from a few charts from last year, right?
yeah,
And it was like the old saying is, or old, but like you've probably seen this many times. Like whenever you feel the need to make a screenshot, that's when you sell. And this
yeah,
could not be more accurate. It was basically at the end of October, which was pretty much the exact top. And I
yeah.
even found one screenshot of Bitcoin being like 66K. Yeah, I just thought, I mean, this is so funny in the sense that your sort of mental anchor to what the price is
Mhm.
adjusts sort of quickly, um, but also not really, right? Like there's, I guess for me at least, there's always a sort of frame of what the sort of mental frame of what the fair price is. Like right now, it's been for like a few weeks or maybe even months. You could argue that it's between roughly like 19K and like 21K. So if right now it would go up very suddenly, then to let's say 30K, right? Then you would expect it to at least come down a bit to, I don't know, like 24, 25, maybe, who knows? Um, because you're still sort of anchored to that 20K range.
Yeah,
Um, but then when you see prices of like a year ago, when I saw that screenshot of like 66K, that's like, I mean, you would not believe it if tomorrow Bitcoin was 66K. You would think, what the hell is going on, basically.
no,
Uh,
seriously.
yeah, so
Shit.
it's pretty interesting to see how sort of that anchor shifts over time. But I mean, I'm sure we'll see it again. It just will take it will take a while, I think.
Yeah, no, agreed. That's why, honestly, that's why I really enjoy like utility tokens. Like, I mean, just Ethereum, for example. Once they move to proof of stake, and like they like that anchor shifted from like the idea of like it's not. No, we're not talking about price wise. It's just talking about like the expectation for the price action shifted
Hmm.
from like, oh yeah, like you're expected to see a bunch of sell pressure because of like the miners, but now there's no miners, so the sell pressure isn't there, and then there's also the burn mechanism in place. So then like it's continuously you know like pushing for it to be deflationary, and then like the utility of it being able to like you being able to like just run a validator, earn, and like also earn from MEV boosts and so on.
Yeah,
It just shifted like how you said, like everything you think about, like how the price action would perform. Like seeing Bitcoin go to 60 is like tomorrow is like crazy because it's like, okay, what changed? But if you see, excuse me, if you see like Ethereum go to like 2,000, 4,000, or even back out to all time high, and you'd be like, oh, okay. Like it's not
I
like,
mean,
oh, it's not as
it,
nice.
it's the same thing a little bit. Like if tomorrow ETH would break all time highs, you would also think like, what the hell
No, yeah,
happened? But like
yeah, yeah,
if
yeah,
it's so sudden, then you would think, yo, what happened? I mean, this was
yeah.
not
No, agreed.
really in the expectation of anyone.
Yeah, no,
Um,
100%, 100%. It just wouldn't be as dramatic as Bitcoin because it's
yeah,
like nothing happened with Bitcoin. There was no upgrade. There was no
yeah,
changes. So
true,
like
true.
seeing like the price go up like that, it's like what the hell? It's like there's no volume either, or there was volume or whatever. But like with Ethereum, it's like a little bit different because it's like you still have to look at the same things, but like you also have to look at like the utility and all that. So it's like I'm not gonna say like it goes to all time high tomorrow. I'm not gonna be surprised. Of course I'll be surprised, but like if it goes to all time high in like a year, then it's like okay, that makes sense. Even if like honestly, like I don't know why people feel like so emotional about the idea of like Ethereum flipping Bitcoin, but like come on now, like really like with the recent like move to proof of stake and all these other things that combine, like I feel like it's expected at this point. Like you should know that like it will flip Bitcoin because of the fact of like everything that's going on within the ecosystem and like the utility of the token changing and like the whole fundamentals being continuously being improved upon like year after year because of the roadmap they have in place now.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, I think we talked about already about it last time.
Yeah,
Like there's just more room to grow and a lot more sort of fundamental reasons for Ethereum to grow over Bitcoin.
exactly. Agreed. Agreed. I mean, let's not even. We could go on about that. Even go into like, like Chainlink's like utility and like how it's shifted recently too. But like, we could have a whole live stream just about that.
Yeah,
Oh
let's
shoot.
keep that for another time, maybe.
Yeah, agreed. But yeah, let's go into this like the symbol attackers essentially, like people going after airdrops essentially with a bunch of wallets.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, symbol attacking is like you said, basically sort of trying to game the system when it comes to airdrops.
Mm,
So normally, I would say like airdrops are meant for like genuine users, right, of a protocol or chain or
yeah.
whatever. Just sort of as a I don't know, like a nice gesture back to the community, I guess,
Right.
um, to encourage people to like stay active on that protocol or yeah, or chain or whatever. But then people figured out, I think the Uniswap airdrop was one of the first really big airdrops, right? I'm not entirely
Yeah.
sure if it was really the actual first airdrop, but at
I
least for
think it really
most
kicked
people,
things off. Yeah.
yeah, at least for most people, it was sort of um, the first big airdrop that they got.
Yeah.
But then quickly people figured out like, hey, if I can get an airdrop on one account that's worth like I remember that being worth like $1,200 or something if you only had swapped once. I
Yeah.
mean, that was around the time of like the stimulus checks for
Yeah.
COVID. So people
Yeah.
were kind of joking like, yeah, this is a way more efficient stimulus check, which was kind of funny because we didn't even get like stimulus checks here or anything, so it was kind
Jeez.
of funny. But I mean, if you're able to get instead of one airdrop, you're able to get like 100 airdrops because you
Yeah.
interacted um, for whatever sort of um, yeah qualification that there was to get the airdrop from different addresses, then now all of a sudden you don't have $1,200 but you have $120,000, which obviously
Exactly.
is, I would say, maybe not life changing money for everyone, but I would definitely say is a very, very nice amount to just all of a sudden get for free, you know? So
Yeah.
obviously protocols didn't really want this because then yeah, you're basically paying a huge amount to what is essentially just a single user, and maybe it's
Right.
not even like someone who actually uses your protocol, right? Like they could just be trying to qualify for your airdrop and meet the criteria.
Right.
Um,
Just to
so
sell and move it somewhere else. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So that's kind of what these protocols have been trying to avoid, like um, not make the qualifications known beforehand and
Yep.
putting different measures in place. So like you don't want to connect different wallets to each other, right? So like if you're sending, let's say, funds from one wallet to different wallets, that's sort of connecting all these wallets, and then there's I mean, there could be a sort of base amount that you have to transact or number of times. I remember there was one, I forgot which one it was. I think, yeah, the optimism one. There were sort of different tiers, I would say, that qualified you for an airdrop. So if you just did some transactions on optimism, then you got basically the lowest one, or like the most basic one. But
Yeah.
then um, if you uh, like if you transacted multiple times, I think, let's say 4 times during different weeks or something, then that would qualify you for another tier, and you got an extra airdrop, and then all things like that, right? So there's sort of different ways, and the most simple way I could say it is basically just like try to look as much as an authentic user as you can. So if there's only one transaction from an address, then there's a pretty good chance that he'll still be flagged as like a symbol attacker and get no airdrop whatsoever. Because I would say most people don't only make one. Like most legitimate users don't make only one transaction with an address, right?
Right.
That's kind of sus, to be honest. Um, so,
I
but
agree.
yeah, by reading this thread, by going through this thread, you can also sort of um, see what is kind of the things that you could avoid in trying to get an airdrop, because I'm not advocating you go Sybil hunting like airdrop hunting, but it could even be good to see, all right, if there's anything that sort of disqualifies you from getting an airdrop in that thread, you might
Yeah.
already be doing things like that, then try to avoid that so you can get an airdrop from a
That's true.
protocol in the future. Because there's definitely people who've become pretty wealthy just by using airdrops. Yeah, so I think that's a pretty good strategy for anyone who's willing to put in the work and doesn't have a lot of capital. Um, yeah, what do you think?
No, I agree. No, like it's, dude. I'm like I think I got the Uniswap airdrop. I got the 1 inch airdrop. I got the DYDX airdrop. I wish I got the Optimism one. The DYDX one though, like yeah, you really needed to put up funds and trade on the exchange. But like even just one other account, well even before that, you would need it. Like they didn't allow U.S. like traders or investors to like participate in the airdrop. So even then, you would need to have like a VPN and all that. Even if you had just one extra wallet do it, like qualify for the minimum airdrop, you would have been able to make like tens of thousands.
Yeah, I remember. I don't remember if it was the DYDX one or maybe the the ribbon finance one, but I think there was one where I read someone made like 500,000 just from an airdrop, basically by because those were particularly large airdrops anyways, and
Yeah,
then they also had a bunch of different accounts, you know. So then
Yeah.
I don't know, like if you have an airdrop that's worth 50K, which to be fair is very high for an airdrop,
Yeah.
I would say.
Seriously.
Like I would say most are more in like the $1,000 range,
Yeah.
that I've heard of. Um, but yeah, I mean, if you have an airdrop like the one from 50K or something, then you would only, uh, at least in theory, need like 20 accounts to become a millionaire, which is, I mean, 20 accounts, yeah, you might have to do some work, but
It's a
honestly,
million
it will
dollars.
probably, sorry?
It's a potential $1 million that you could
Yeah,
earn.
like funding 20 different accounts from a bunch of different sexes, um, is not that hard, to be honest.
Yeah.
Um, and like realistically, like yeah, we'll probably take some capital. That's the one thing I will say. Like that does take a bit more capital because usually there's some sort of base amount that
Yeah.
they will have the threshold at. So yeah, that you need to take that into account. But I mean, if that takes like I don't know a month work, that's still a million for a month's work. You know, like
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not sure there's many other ways you could get that amount of money
No,
in such
seriously.
a short amount of time. You know?
Yeah, and even if like all 20 didn't qualify, you still made a significant amount. Even if you
Yeah,
just got one, that 50,000 is still like okay. You did a lot. You did a 1 month's work for 50,000. Like okay, that's still good. And then
yeah,
you had the potential to earn way more. Maybe you didn't that time, but maybe the next time you do. And I think that's why we see a lot of like like everybody hunting for airdrops because the math just checks out. If you just figure out how to qualify and then you just qualify multiple and then you just you fund multiple and then like minimum you see how much you would earn, you're gonna be happy for anything on top of that.
yeah, yeah. I think the sort of the sweet spot is obviously in I would say protocols that are sort of underused in the sense
Yeah.
that like they're not that much used, because obviously the more users there are, the more you get diluted. So that's not ideal.
Exactly.
But
Exactly.
then also they do have to have, I would say, actual revenue because, or like be very well funded, from a VC. But
Yep.
then it's a bit like, yeah, but how much do the VCs want to give out free money, right? Like there probably was like some of that going on last year, but I think it's more likely in the future that airdrops will get funded through actual revenue instead of just like
Agreed.
giving away VC money.
No,
Uh,
agreed. Just looking at DYDX, it went all time high like 28, almost $30, right? If you
yeah,
look at it now, it's like $1.
Jeez,
Yeah.
that's rough. What's the ticker again? Just DY.
DYDX. Yeah. Yeah, it's insane. So like imagine imagine users that legitimately wanted to like participate and actually be a part of the ecosystem. Yeah, it's they've been like experiencing down only significantly. I mean, everybody has, but like for this
Yeah,
airdrop, it's like really rough. You see like imagine like getting like the airdrop and seeing it at 28 and seeing how much you got, and it's like wow, this is a lot of money, and then you don't sell, and it's like at $1 right now, and it's like, wow, this is worthless.
yeah, that's rough. I mean, I remember there was an airdrop for Ampleforth, people who held Ampleforth, um, and then they introduced their governance token Forth because their actual token was Ample, so Ampleforth. Yeah, pretty dumb, honestly, but I mean,
The
yeah,
heck?
like whatever.
Yeah,
Um, but I still don't really know how that came about. Like, what was kind of the reasoning for the qualifications of the airdrop? but that went from, let's see, 55. Um, okay, so it said even the high was 180, but I think that was like literally the moment it came out, probably because I don't remember seeing anything that high. So I
Yeah.
think like 55 is more reasonable, and now it's not even worth $5. It's like $4.70. I
Shoot.
think I still have like one or two tokens in one address, but I think it's still not worth the gas cost to swap them.
Yeah. No, definitely not. Definitely not. But yeah, you want to end it off right here?
Yeah.
All right, guys. Tune in next week. Subscribe, like, all those things. I'll see you next week then.
Then we're already off to episode 20, I think.